Premier is here. Premier Heating and Air is offering rebates starting at $1,000 with the purchase of a new heating and air system. Upgrade your system before the summer heat is here. Premier Heating and Air offering free Wi-Fi thermostats included with the purchase of a heating and air system. And now pay just $89 for a system checkup. Experience the Premier difference today. Or log on to dublin.premierishere.com. Premier Heating and Air, a locally owned and operated company.
Welcome to Chamber Talk. We've got a great show for you today. I'm so happy to be able to introduce a new member of our community, Mitch Griggs. He is the president and CEO at our Dublin-Laurens County Development Authority. And Mitch, welcome to Dublin.
Thank you so much, Keith. I really appreciate it. It's good to be here.
So I wanted our viewers to have an opportunity today to get to know you, and then we'll follow that up with a little bit of discussion about Laurens County and our current situation and where we are as far as economic development, and then we may even talk a little bit about maybe some future goals or aspirations, things that we would like to see here. But tell us a little bit about Mitch Griggs, where you come from, and a little bit about your family.
Well, I was born in Central Florida, on the east coast of Central Florida, a little town called Cocoa. Kind of one of the rare fifth-generation Floridians. No one's been in Florida that long. But my great-great-grandfather went down there as a settler. But eventually, that's where I was born and raised, but left to go to University of Georgia. Go Dogs.
I was going to ask, when you said Florida, I was going to ask where the Bulldogs played in. That's a good deal. Yeah,
all the folks I grew up with are Gators, so I've very much enjoyed the last 10 years or so. Went to UGA and majored in city planning, and fell in love with Georgia, of course, while I was and first fell in love with UGA, but fell in love with Georgia while I was there, and fell in love with a girl. Met my wife now over 30 years, Joanna there, and so after we graduated, we, like everybody, moved to Atlanta for a little while. But then we moved to South Georgia, actually, for my first planning job. And after that, we moved to Aiken, South Carolina, where I became the planning director of a regional agency, Council of Governments over there, like the regional commissions over here. And that's kind of where I got into economic development. You may recall the Savannah River plant over there in Aiken County. Mm-hmm. It was a big federal facility, and they were pretty much shutting it down while I was there. So I had nothing to do with that. But it was kind of like a base closure. Yeah, massive dislocation of pretty highly compensated federal employees over there, and contractors and all that sort of thing. So they tasked our organization with helping create some diversification initiatives. So we wrote a economic diversification plan. So that was kind of, a certain foray into it, if you will. But then we also created some other programs, executives on loans. Most of the communities really didn't have any economic development programs in place. So I was kind of serving as an interim economic development director on a part-time basis with some of those communities. So that really got my foot in the door of economic development, and just got to love it. So we eventually moved from Aiken and headed over to Georgia, again, back to Atlanta, where I worked for the State Department of Community Affairs. And I was a program manager with their Business and Financial Assistance Division, managing all their grant and loan programs, because they're kind of the bank, if you will, for community and economic development in the state of Georgia. So did that for a good long time, and of course got that much further enmeshed in the whole administrative infrastructure and the community, if you will, of economic development, working closely with the Department of Economic Development, the statewide program managers, and the site selection consultants, and the communities themselves. So that was great, because it gave me exposure to not quite 159, but a whole bunch of the counties in Georgia. So really got familiar with the communities in the entire state. From there, I went over to Toccoa, Stevens County, and became the executive director of the Development Authority there. And then from there, went to Blairsville, Georgia, in Union County, and was the executive director of the Development Authority there until about, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Time flies. But about 3 weeks ago, I was fortunate enough to come to Dublin, and am now the president of the Development Authority here.
Fantastic. Mitch, let's talk about that just a little bit. I've told you a little bit before we came on the air today, just like to be real on our show and let people know who we are. Talk a little bit about what happened in Blairsville and in comparison to what you're seeing so far and what you know about just community and working together here in Dublin-Laurens County.
Sure, and economic development is a process, right? You can define economic development a lot of different ways, but effectively it's anything that increases wealth in your community. And that's generally done through private investment by private corporations that not only invest in your community and increase the tax digest, but create jobs, and that payroll recycles in the community and everything. And that's how you create community-wide wealth, if you will, and create a prosperous community. So that's why we exist on the most basic level. But it's very much a team sport. The Development Authority can do very little on our own. I mean, sure, we have statutory, abilities and stuff like that, and we have a certain mission, and we have some capacity to carry out our mission, but we couldn't do anything without a tremendous amount of assistance from the Chamber of Commerce, from our cities, and from our county, right at the most basic level, but also extending to our other allies and partners, which are utilities, electric utilities, obviously our statewide partners, our federal partners, all that sort of stuff. So a project very rarely doesn't require kind of everybody to come together and work on it and provide their particular piece of assistance that makes a project go. So that all really gets to leadership, one way or the other. Leadership at the state level from the governor's office down to Pat Wilson at the Department of Economic Development, obviously, but more particularly at the local level. Because I have seen a lot of communities in the state and at least touched down a little bit and working on projects discreetly. And leadership is what makes local leadership. And that's your elected leaders as well as your appointed officials, your city managers, your county managers, all those folks. That's what really makes a community go, because they provide essential services that really make everything in a community function, obviously supporting economic development. And those communities that have good leadership ultimately are successful. So that was a huge draw for me to come here, because I thought I knew Dublin-Laurens County a little bit from my association with my colleagues, all the way from Willie Paulk, way back in the day, because I knew Willie for a long time. And she'd share, hey, we got Best Buy or YKK or something like that. So everybody kind of celebrates each other's victories and wins and stuff up through Ryan. I've known Ryan for a long time. So, a little bit of anecdotal information from that perspective. And I've been through Dublin a bunch of times, but more passing through. But once I got here, all of a sudden, I found out how much more depth this community has, how much more capacity this community has, and just how blessed it is with the leadership that we have. And that's just not common. And a big part of that is cooperation, right, between those entities. We've got municipalities in Laurens County, 7 municipalities, I guess, in the county themselves. And that cooperation between those local governmental entities is absolutely key. Don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but it's not that common, right. And certainly not to the degree and level that we have here. The Union County, you asked, about that situation. Elections happened. They're one of the few communities that have a sole commissioner form of government and left in the United States. So you've got a single elected official. That's the whole body politic. And so there's not a board or multiple minds or heads put together and stuff and make decisions. But elected with what a self-perceived idea of stopping all growth, which is impossible. Mm-hmm. Right? Even if you resist growth, it's going to happen.
Right.
But you want to guide it.
Right.
And that requires having good leadership in place, not only at the elected level, but at the chamber and at the development authority and your appointed officials, because it's very, very important that you guide that growth, facilitate it, because we're not making private investment. But we are working with the private entities that are, and hopefully doing so in a manner that benefits the community most.
I think that's important, and I think, again, you're mentioning, you see that here. One of the first things I saw come into Dublin-Laurens County was the cohesiveness of the people, the leadership here, and their ability to put the needs of the community first, it seemed, and then to have those partnerships work together. I'm from a similar situation. I actually spent a lot of time in Aiken, South Carolina, very familiar with the Savannah River site, and used to be the bomb plant and DuPont,
right.
And all the different names that it went through. But
the bomb plant, yeah.
Yeah, but you don't always have your local government entities working together, especially to the level that we see here in Dublin-Laurens County. So I want to take a really quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about your first perceptions of Dublin-Laurens County once you arrived, and then we'll talk a little bit more about future things here in Dublin-Laurens County. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Tom Dominy. Here at Dublin-Laurens, we pride ourselves on providing the industry's highest quality products at the most competitive pricing. We are a full-service wholesaler specializing in plumbing, irrigation, and industrial products. With a staff that collectively offers more than 50 years of expertise, our team knows your industry, and we can answer your questions and help you get the parts and equipment you need. From mowing to Renee, we carry the plumbing, irrigation, and industrial products you need from the brands you trust. We also carry a great lineup of Milwaukee tools. At Dublin-Laurens, our goal is the long-term success of your business. We achieve that goal with a simple commitment, doing things right, one customer at a time. If you have a question, or if you're looking for a hard-to-find part, give us a call. Our experts are ready to help. Order online, give us a call, or come by at 507 Airport Road in Dublin. We're committed to building long-term relationships with our customers by earning your business every day.
Get a great deal on a great-looking lawn and a really comfortable ride. Introducing Kubota Z200 Series mowers with a new K-Ride comfort system. Designed to optimize your ride so you have everything you need to glide your way to a perfectly manicured lawn. Right now, get a Kubota Z200 mower for 0 down, 0% APR for 36 months.
Products you can count on, a name you can trust. That's Mid-State Tractor and Equipment.
Welcome back. Mitch, again, thank you for taking some time out today to spend with us. I know you're 3 weeks in here, and you guys are, fortunately for all of us, you're busy. You're very, very busy, and a lot of things are happening, and so we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But I'd just like to ask, and again, just as real and candid, but I think it's good for our viewers to know, arriving for the first time, coming in, considering this as a place that you may relocate and work here and have this be the place you call home, what was your perception coming into Dublin-Laurens County?
It was really interesting. And of course, I'm coming from a community and economic development background, right? So my poor family, everywhere we go, I point out things like substations to the kids. And, it's kind of like a constant, episode of how it's made when you travel with Dad. So they've tolerated that well. We kind of look at things, through a certain lens and perhaps notice things that a lot of folks just casually don't. Because it's just part of the landscape, as it were. But you can tell an awful lot from a community in a couple of different ways. And we were talking before, that shockingly, you can get a ton of information about a community by stopping and getting gas and having a cheeseburger. It's a palpable mood by the folks, by the citizenry, conversations that folks have. It's extraordinary how common kind of the community, if you will, perception, their perception, but kind of feeling is, and kind of everyday conversation amongst your citizenry. I've gone through communities where, you stop and get a bite to eat at the local diner or something like that, and boy, everything everyone's talking about is something negative or what's wrong and all that sort of stuff. You're like, well, they've got some challenges. But that was one of the things I noticed immediately when I got here, from the receptionist at the hotel to the staff person at the restaurant to a couple of the retail stores that we stopped in. Everybody was buoyantly positive. And everybody was super, super friendly. Kind of eavesdropping on conversations, in the restaurant and stuff at other tables and stuff. People were talking about positive things. People were talking about good things happening in Dublin-Laurens County. Talking about the things that they were involved with and the civic and social, infrastructure of the community and stuff. And it became very, very quickly apparent that folks are happy to be here, and there's a reason that they're happy to be here, because the community does have a lot going on and a lot of positive things going on. Not to say that we don't have our challenges. Every community does, as I mentioned before, economic development is a process. It's not an event. Yeah, we have events, like the Washington announcement. Yeah, I know. But that obviously didn't happen overnight, and it's still ongoing, in fact. But it's building up from every single thing. Looking at some of the challenges that we have to face, that every community has to face. They're real, but the thing that's super impressive is that we're very self-aware, I think, in the community, and there's a real commitment and some common vision about what we need to tackle, what those challenges are, how we're going to get there. Now that's going to be an evolving process. The plan always changes.
Right.
But that's what's super exciting, is that everybody recognizes that. So we're like every community, literally, in the United States, that we've got some workforce challenges. Labor is tight. Labor market is tight in the entire country. In Georgia, our unemployment rate is about 3.5% or so. So fortunately, we do have a regional labor shed that we draw from, so we've got a certain advantage there. But we're in this kind of transitional period with our workforce. And again, that's countrywide, where we're heading into this gig economy and AI and all those types of things and everything, while simultaneously, we've got a certain shortage of skills and education in the resident labor force to do things that need to be done. We still have to make stuff, for instance. So we've got a whole bunch of initiatives. We've done a workforce study, and we've got, I think, the pieces and the elements in place and a plan in place where we've got the right folks at the table cooperating to tackle those issues. We've got other issues, some corridor stuff. You mentioned, first coming into the community, what are your impressions? Super, super common thing, is corridor management, right? Everybody's got a gateway into their community. We've got several gateways into our community, obviously 441 being the biggest one for us. So it's kind of paying attention to those little details, because one of the things that we have to do is kind of constantly task ourselves with not overlooking the obvious to us, because we see it every day. And having at least the ability to view things through the perspective or lens of someone just seeing it for the first time, and what kind of impression does this make? Yeah. And I know that, talking with the mayor and Josh the other day, They're super committed to making a difference on some of those types of things, investing millions of dollars, of course, in the city park system, which is a great thing. They are obviously have done a great job with the downtown. More work to do there. And they're aware that we need to do some corridor stuff to make sure that we are putting our best foot forward when folks visit our community.
Absolutely, and I'm so glad you mentioned, and I want to make certain that folks watching, I tell folks all the time, whether I'm at a coffee shop or a restaurant or wherever, sometimes I ask, do you know where the Welcome Center is? And they'll say, well, it's out by the interstate. And I like to say, no, it's right here. So many times, the restaurant, the gas station, the coffee shop, that's where someone stops when they come through Dublin-Laurens County. They may not go to the visitor center. So you then become the Welcome Center. And to hear those conversations, hopefully, if you're sitting in one of our local restaurants, you're speaking positively about the things that are going on in our community, about our government. If you're sitting in our restaurant and all you hear is negative, well, this is not good, and the city and the county are arguing and fighting, or this, you probably are not as interested in making this home. So I'm glad to hear that was what you experienced upon coming into the community. And I think that's something all of us can make sure that we're aware and do it. You never know who's sitting next to you. And that's the great story here is no one knew that you're considering making this your home or being the president of our development authority or who you were. You're just another person in the restaurant. Exactly. So it wasn't an act or people putting on or, somebody made an announcement that said, hey, we got an important visitor coming to town. Let's put on our best behavior.
Yeah, I wasn't wearing a T-shirt.
Yeah, and I think that it's most important, Mitch, for us to always state that and to reiterate there is so much good in our community here. And there's a few people here and there that just like to be negative and want to point out the negative. And yes, we have opportunities. There's opportunities in every community. But by and large, there are so many more good things. And we are so blessed and fortunate to be here and to be able to call Dublin-Laurens County home. We need to take one more really quick commercial break, and when we come back, I want to talk about some of the economic development projects maybe that are underway and maybe what our future might look like as far as future industry or development. So we'll be right back.
If you're wondering when the best time to buy a new car is, it's right now. Hi, this is Don Carswell with Dublin Nissan in Dublin, Georgia, and the best day to buy a new car is every day. So whether you're looking at the all-new Murano, a brand new 2025 Versa, or you're looking for a great deal on a Z, we have all the choices here at Dublin Nissan every day. And now's the time to take advantage of all new discounted pricing on new Rogues and Pathfinders. We sell cars well every day at Dublin Nissan.
The Houston Clinic is located in the heart of Dublin, in close proximity to Fairview Park Hospital. Dr. Gay and Dr. Richter utilize state-of-the-art equipment and the most up-to-date treatment available today. The Houston Clinic conveniently offers on-site physical therapy. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So call for an appointment today at 478-353-1166. Dr. Gay and Dr. Richter look forward to serving you at the Houston Clinic of Dublin, 100 Medical Drive, Suite 400. The Houston Clinic, providing state-of-the-art care closer to home.
Welcome back, and again, Mitch, thank you for joining us today. So we talked a little bit about your background, and then we talked a little bit about your time being here and some of the things you've seen and experienced since you've been here. Bring us up to speed as much as you can on where we are as a community from an economic development standpoint right now, and specifically, I'm sure a lot of people would love to know about the washing plant and when that might open and how many employees, what will be happening out on that site at 257.
Right. Super exciting time to be here. I'm so fortunate to be here right now at this moment in time. Because as I've mentioned before, I was a little familiar with Dublin-Laurens County through my colleagues and associations with the folks from here in one capacity or another. But Dublin and Laurens County have done a great job over the years in what you might call traditional economic development. And generally speaking, that involves manufacturing and that kind of thing, industrial park development, industrial development. So great track record of that, good success with that. And an amazing transition during the difficult time in NAFTA, where we had so many textile operations in Georgia in particular, in the Southeast, and transitioning to a different manufacturing environment. So a lot of good wins there over the years that kind of reestablished that, and we now have a fantastic base. And that's really important to have that base in place because that creates a certain gravity that helps you attract other manufacturing and industry concerns. It's kind of like retail in that respect. If Chick-fil-A goes in, everybody else is going to follow them, right? So having that base is really important because other companies can see, hey, they've got capacity, they've got ability, there's a reason to be there. Boy, we're blessed with a lot of product, what we call product. And that can be buildings, but primarily land. So we have almost 700 acres of development authority on land that is industrial land and ready to go. You mentioned the washing plant. That was a big win for us, great project. Underway, it's still under construction. Drive by 441 and 257 and you'll certainly see the building going up and lots of activity out there. Of course, washing the facility itself has gone vertical, so you can see that. We're starting the next phase on some of the infrastructure development and the roadway and some of the water, sewer, and detention and all those fun things that I'd like to point out to my kids, right? Ooh, there's a detention pond. Isn't that fascinating? But they're going great. Everything's on track, and that'll be over 470 employees.
Wow.
And 460, 470, something like that. Mm-hmm. Over $176 million investment in our community, which is a big shock to our tax digest. Obviously, we get that kind of in private investment on our tax digest. It grows the digest and helps our city and county and our school system keep our millage rate low. And that's another big benefit of economic development and industry. It's a very concentrated form of investment. You don't use up a whole lot of land in it. A lot of dollars go in per square foot, and those dollars and payroll and that private investment get recycled in your economy 5 to 7 times, which is the highest multiplier effect for a private investment dollar of any industry sector. So that's the big driving force why folks want this type of development. So they should be operational in October.
Okay.
So things are going well. We've got a lot of good folks involved with that project. We've got a lot of local contractors out there working. So again, that kind of multiplier dollar, right? Yeah. That recycles through the community.
So, and Mitch, there's still just a huge amount of land at that facility. Are there plans or hopes to bring in another industry or some smaller industries, or what might the rest of the usage of that land, what's the hope for that?
It depends. No, just kidding. So the site itself is 331 acres. So Washington is situated on 60 of those acres. Okay. So we got about 271 acres left. And remarkably, for that much acreage, we've only got about 2 acres that's truly undevelopable. It's in a tiny little wetland, area. And we can utilize just about every other square inch of that land. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Developing industrial sites, is not inexpensive. You've got to obviously acquire the land. The biggest cost, generally speaking, is running the infrastructure. You've got to build roads, you've got to build water lines, sewer lines, power lines, all this detention, grading. Moving dirt is remarkably expensive. So you put a lot of money on the front end onto doing that kind of thing. So you want to maximize that site, and so you want to be efficient with your acreage, and again concentrate that private investment as much as you can. So it could develop a whole bunch of different ways. We've dealt with a couple of projects for which we've gotten RFIs or requests for information from our state partners or site selectors. They're working with a company that's interested in locating somewhere, and potentially somewhere in Georgia and hopefully in Lawrence. That have ranged from 30 to 50 acres to 150 acres.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends on what project is out there at any given time and what we have a shot at. But the great thing is it's a grad site, and that's Georgia ready for accelerated development.
That's kind of what I wanted to ask you. So it's if somebody says, hey, I want to build my plant there in Laurens County on that particular acreage, it's ready to go.
It's ready to go.
A lot of the work and time and effort, all the things that would cost them so much money, all that's already done.
It's already done, and it's kind of like the stock market. Uncertainty is the thing that kind of kills you. And so when you're a company and you're looking to put millions and hundreds of millions of dollars into a project, you need to know that it's going to go, it's feasible, but you also need to know that nothing's going to delay you. Environmental, archaeological, historic resources, all kinds of things can delay a build. And so having all that work done on the front end and being able to say, here, I got a certificate from the state saying there's not going to be a problem, we're ready to go, we can get to work, we can start moving dirt tomorrow kind of thing, it's a massive advantage so that when companies are looking for a site and they're running, whoever they're running it through, be it a private site selection consultant or the state, we kind of get to the front of the line, as it were, as a potential site location.
Mitch, how today, and I think maybe this has changed, I could be wrong about this, but I think before it seemed like maybe we chased after more or went after companies more. Has that changed a little bit, and more that companies are seeking places to build and grow their facilities, or do you get approached more with these are people that are interested, or do you spend more time seeking out a new company?
It's always a balance of both, right?
Okay.
So you're always out there prospecting. You're always out there shaking the tree, as it were, and you're generating some of your own leads, and you're generating some of your own projects. But the economic development process, if you will, really across the country, involves a lot of gateways into projects. So companies announce themselves in various ways. Every once in a while, it's a little rare, but every once in a while, a company's doing something internally, and they'll start contacting communities individually. But most of the time, they're coming through a gateway, and those gateway partners could be commercial real estate companies. They could be your state Department of Economic Development. They could be a private site selection firm. And what they'll do is they'll reach out and say, I've got a widget factory, and I'm going to build a factory, and it needs to be somewhere in the southeast for distribution, logistics, and supply purposes. They might be looking at 7 states because the economic development process is kind of a big funnel. The companies have the ability sometimes to be on a given plant, anywhere on the planet. They can be in any country. But usually they'll narrow the geography to a certain extent for those market reasons and stuff. But it might be looking at potentially 7 states. That's a lot of communities. And so so they'll reach out to generally the State Department of Commerce, State Department of Economic Development, and say, I've got a project. You guys help us do the homework. Kind of give us a short list of communities that meet the parameters of our project in terms of acreage, in terms of water capacity, sewer capacity, power, labor, location, logistics, all those types of things. And then the state or the private site selection firm will kind of, through their internal resources and databases and everything, try and get a list of communities and sites in particular that most closely match the company's desires. And then we really get to work.
Right, and something else I think we all should be really proud of here, and I want to give you a minute to talk about kind of in our closing, but the team that you work with here. These guys have been around, they're known throughout the state, and I think our economic development here in Dublin and Laurens County is pretty well known and respected throughout the state. You got a great group of guys. There's enough turnover now in there to have some new guys in, but you've got guys that have been there for the long haul and have been a part of all the success that we've had. And I'm sure that's very important to you as the president of the Development Authority to have a super strong board to support you?
Tremendously. I can't say enough about our board members. And credit, frankly, our county elected officials and city elected officials, because we're both a constitutional and a statutory development authority. So I like to say we're the first development authority ever created in the state of Georgia, because kind of we are, but we're tied really for about 7 that were all created and written into the Constitution when they first created development authorities. But we start with a D. I have to use the D instead of the L, because that way I can claim that we're earlier than the other guy. The board, we've got a great mix of folks, 3 appointed by the county, 3 appointed by the city, and 1 duly appointed by both. And it is just that. It's a great mix of folks that have been on the Development Authority for a while. They've got some great experience. They understand the process. They're committed to the process. And some guys that haven't been on there all that long yet, but are absolutely committed to community and economic development and forwarding the vision for the community. So, but one of the remarkable things that even I didn't realize until I really got here and started looking at it, we've got tremendous influence. For a community of 50,000 people, we've got a lot of folks in this community on my board and otherwise in the community, business leaders, business owners and stuff, and our state elected officials, our senator and our representative Hatchett and Senator Walker. Tremendous statewide reach and influence, and that's incredibly helpful. I had goodness, dozens of my colleagues reach out to me over the last few weeks and say, congratulations, on being in Dublin, great community. Give my regards to. And all these folks, that know Roger, for instance, or Guy, or whomever, Jimmy, some of my board members and our other elected officials, and from all over the state. And that really is helpful. So I'm blessed to have some good folks in place to help me.
And let's not leave out one of the other most important, and she's still fairly new as well, but you have Brooke Reagan working alongside of you each and every day.
Yes, so that was tremendously helpful, because of course I met Brooke immediately when I first came down and everything. So Brooke's been here, I guess, about 6 months or so. But she had the opportunity to work with Ryan for a little while, but she also had the opportunity to work with Charlie Gatlin, who was hired kind of as a consultant on an interim basis. But Charlie was a former deputy commissioner of the Department of Economic Development.
Right.
So, I mean, you couldn't have, a better teacher and mentor and stuff. So Brooke's been a sponge, and, so she's done a whole lot to kind of keep the ship together and everything until we got a full staff in place. But having a full staff and someone like Brooke, that, has such ability and capacity and everything to keep things going, advance the ball, and make sure that our organization is responsive as quickly as we can be to everything, but also proactive.
Yeah, that and it sounds simple sometimes to people, but just a smile. And having a cheerful person and voice, and that's Brooke. She comes in each morning and brings a positive spirit to what we're doing there. So we appreciate her. We appreciate you and the board of directors that you serve with, and we just look forward to great things in the future from our development authority. Again, our good friend here, new president at the Dublin-Laurens County Development Authority, Mitch Griggs. When you see him out in the community, take the opportunity to shake his hand, as I'm going to do right now, and say thank you and welcome.
Thank you very much, Heath.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us today and helping us make today and every day a great day for business in Dublin and Lawrence County.